Why would Coca-Cola, one of the biggest companies in the world, surrender to a wacky startup? Why would Coca-Cola, this industry-dominating 130-year-old juggernaut, act like a helpless, twizzler-legged, shaky toddler in competition with a newcomer? And finally, why would Coca-Cola, this super strong company with an almost unlimited marketing budget, capitulate and throw in the towel when faced with competition from a startup selling the most mundane, most easily copyable product, bottled water? This is the unbelievable but true story of how a wacky startup selling bottled water forced both industry-dominating giants, the mighty Coca-Cola Company and Pepsi, onto their knees. And as you'll discover in a minute, you can use the same trick to force the industry-dominating giants in your industry onto their knees. But first, let's ponder this for a moment. Any idiot can start selling bottled water tomorrow. You just take a plastic bottle, fill it with tap water, and voila, there's your product. This is the simplest, most mundane, and most easily reproducible product in the world. Any copycat can copy this product in a minute. So how in the world could somebody who's just been selling bottled water for a few years force the mighty Coca-Cola Company to bow down and to shell out $4.1 billion in cash to acquire this tiny competitor? That's what we're gonna talk about today. And in the process, we might uncover one of your blind spots. Ready? Fun fact, even after Coca-Cola spent $4.1 billion in cash to acquire this tiny competitor, the company still retains their own separate offices, and the original founder still keeps running the company, and he says, "If Coca-Cola don't call me, I don't call them." Now that is a position of power. You don't see that every day, right? But the question remains, how in the world did that guy manage to pull this off? Well, for starters, he didn't have the blind spot that you have. I'm just teasing, but seriously, 98% of entrepreneurs are suffering from this blind spot, and they don't even know. So, by the end of this video, you're gonna have a leg up. To make you feel the joy of discovery and to eliminate that blind spot of yours, I'm gonna peel off the onion layers slowly. That way, you're gonna have more fun. So how in the world did that guy manage to pull this off? How did he manage to force the mighty Coca-Cola Company to give him $4.1 billion in cash? Well, here's what you know so far. This guy was just selling bottled water. Bottled water in normal plastic bottles like this one. So, nothing special about the bottles. Any idiot can copy this product tomorrow. There's only one thing that could force the mighty Coca-Cola Company to give up and surrender. What is it? Come on, you can do it. Think. If you said brand or label, you're only halfway there. Any idiot can print labels, and the Coca-Cola brand is one of the most famous and one of the most powerful brands in the world. And bear in mind, in the 1920s, Pepsi Cola already was a brand, and back then Pepsi tried to sell itself to Coca-Cola on 3 different occasions. And Coca-Cola said,
No, thank you.
No, thank you. No, no.
No, thank you.
so why would Coca-Cola care about some newcomer brand? Why would Coca-Cola, this market-dominating brand, want to pay $4.1 billion in cash for some newcomer brand? Okay, when talking about the brand, you're on the right path, but you aren't yet there. So, what does a brand do? Why would anyone want it? Well, a brand helps to sell, right? But Coca-Cola already has a brand. The Coca-Cola company owns over 200 brands, and over 50 of those brands are specifically for bottled water. So why would Coca-Cola want to pay this insane amount of money for a brand that's just selling bottled water? Well, this could only be if that brand is selling large amounts of bottled water. And if their sales keep growing at a rate of, say, 200% a year. But that doesn't answer our question. I mean, water is water. A single ingredient product. Why would people want to buy bottled water from one particular brand? Oh wait, small correction. Why would people want to buy overpriced bottled water from one particular brand? Oh yeah, it's massively overpriced. So, what's going on? Come on, think logically here. There must be something about the brand that makes people want to buy the product like crazy. And it must be something that's impossible to copy. Otherwise, Coca-Cola would have done it in a day. Hint: Pepsi did try to imitate the key element of the brand, but they got hit with a lawsuit and had to give up their imitation and settle. In other words, Pepsi surrendered and paid dearly for their mistake. Coca-Cola watched the whole thing, got down on their knees, and said,
I love you.
and then Coca-Cola said,
I'm begging you, please.
and the other Coca-Cola executive said,
I'm begging you. I'm begging you.
Let's make a deal.
We'll give you
$4.1 billion in cash, and
You give us the fucking name!
that's right, Coca-Cola surrendered and paid $4.1 billion in cash for a name. 2 names to be exact. Smart Water and Vitamin Water. That's it. The whole thing actually started with Smart Water, and only after Smart Water started selling like crazy, only then did they add Vitamin Water. And while Vitamin Water sales slowed down after the purchase by Coca-Cola, Smart Water still generates over $1 billion in sales every year. This is why, to understand the whole thing, you only need to pay attention to Smart Water. As established before, any idiot can copy the product in a day. There's absolutely nothing special about the product whatsoever. The prominent German consumer rights group Foodwatch said that Smart Water is nothing but ordinary water. So the product is easy to copy, but what no one can copy is the trademark name. And if your product has a name that makes people want to buy the product like crazy, well then you don't care that anyone can instantly copy your product. They cannot copy your name. Your product name is protected by law. Even if someone tries to imitate you with a similar name, they're gonna make the same experience as Pepsi had in this case. A lawsuit that will force them to surrender. Listen, whenever you try to examine cause and effect in business, or in life in general, there's almost never a single variable in play. But this is one of those extremely rare exceptions. This might be the only exception in the business world where one single variable, the name, made all the difference. Because in this case, it is so clear-cut. There's absolutely nothing that Coca-Cola couldn't have copied in a minute. Except for one thing, the name. The Coca-Cola company had no other choice but to pay a mountain of cash just to be allowed to use a name. Because not only did the Smart Water founder get $4.1 billion in cash for his 10-year-old company, he also got the freedom to continue running and growing his business as before in his own offices. That is power. And the only source of this power in this case is the name. It doesn't get any more clear-cut than this case. The name was the only variable here. The entire beverage industry is dominated by two giants, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. 75% of soft drink beverage brands belong to one of these industry titans. So when a greenhorn newcomer tries to get some shelf space in a shop, that's nearly impossible. If a supermarket manager isn't absolutely sure that a brand is gonna sell, he's not gonna give you any shelf space because he doesn't want to risk losing money. Any product on a supermarket shelf that isn't selling, that product is losing money because there could be something else on that shelf that is selling. This is all to say the product from this greenhorn industry newcomer had to sell like crazy from day one. This bottled water had to sell like crazy from day one. And there's only one way to make people buy an overpriced product like crazy, even though they've never heard of it before. When people walk down the aisle and they see out of the corner of their eye the word Smart Water on a label, on a subconscious level they go, I wonder what that is. Is this water gonna make me smart? Let me try. Boom! You've got a sale. No advertising. And when their coworker later sees that bottle on their desk, the coworker goes, I wonder what that is.
Where did you get that?
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 Boom! You've got more sales. No advertising. Word of mouth. Crazy! Not really, no. When your product name is super easy for people to understand, super easy to remember, super easy to communicate, and when your product name is
Subconsciously
forcing people to want it, well then you can have a product that anyone can copy in a minute. And it will still force the industry giants onto their knees. Because the name is the only part they cannot copy. The name is protected by the law. Are you getting it now? A great product name, not just a good one. A great name is by far
The most powerful
and at the same time the most overlooked sales booster by far. Here's how I define a great name for business. First, my definition of a good name. A good name is super easy for people to understand. Everyone immediately gets it without any explanation. Super easy to remember. It sticks to your brain like chewing gum to a shoe. Super easy to communicate. Everyone immediately knows how to spell it when they hear someone talking about it. That's a good name. But a great name has one additional component to it. A great name will also subconsciously force people to want it. Especially if they've never heard of it before. I mean, if like Coca-Cola, you blow $4 billion on advertising every year, you can also make people want to buy your product. But if your product name alone, without any advertising and without any explanation, instantly makes people want to buy your product, that is a great name. A great name either makes people instantly want to buy the product, or it makes people want to learn more about your product. If your product name makes them want to learn more, they'll find your website. And if you're smart about your business website, spoiler, 90% of businesses are extremely non-smart about their website. So in the description, you'll find a link to a video about 5 website mistakes that are killing your business and how to fix them. But if you like this video so far, guess how many smart people you would help if you share this video with your friends on Twitter, LinkedIn or Facebook. And give it a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you subscribe to this YouTube channel and ring the bell, you might even get a chance to join our secret Mastermind community. Link in the description. Okay, now you should understand why naming agencies exist and why they charge between $7,500 and $75,000 for developing just one product name. About 50 years ago, Exxon paid $100 million to their agency for coming up with that name. And Exxon is not even a great name by my standards. Depending on your type of business, your brand name might not be a product. Salesforce, for example, has a bunch of products, but nobody cares about the names of those products because the only name that matters in that case is Salesforce. Yes, Salesforce is a great name. This is a rare case where the market leader actually has a super strong brand name. In almost all other markets, the current market leaders usually have super weak names, which makes it easy for you to pull off the same trick as the Smart Water founder. If your brand name alone is pulling in potential buyers like crazy, you can outcompete even the most powerful juggernaut in your industry. An ad agency will try to convince you that you need a certain color, a certain font, and a logo for your brand. And while those things do matter a little bit, the vast majority of a brand's pulling power comes from the name. In cases like Smart Water or Salesforce, all of the pulling power comes from the name. Nobody cares about the colors, the fonts, or the logos there. You don't carry a Ford logo in your pocket if you want to talk about the F-150. And no Tesla driver is gonna throw Tesla logos at you every time they talk about Tesla. People just use words and names when communicating with each other. And marketing is all about persuasive communication. A great business name or brand name is like the hammer of the mighty Thor. Whereas a weak name is like a puny little twig. This is also why a name like this one is idiotic. When a founder chooses a horrible name like that, they demonstrate that their marketing blind spot is the size of a planet. But hey, up until a minute ago, business naming was your blind spot too. Or at least you didn't understand that a great name in business is the most powerful sales booster you could ever have. And despite all the clear-cut evidence, 90% of people watching this video are still not gonna be convinced this is true. Good for you, because if you capitalize on this, you're gonna leave those suckers behind. Or maybe you just want to collect $4.1 billion from a giant in your industry and then retire. Wait, the Smart Water guy didn't retire and he got $4.1 billion. So if you want to retire, you should ask for more. Here's another example of a bad business name, Brief. Literally, that's the entire brand name. If I don't tell you what industry they're in, you're never gonna find their website in a million years. And even if I told you their industry, you're still not gonna find their website. It's like using the word wet as a brand name for bottled water. Using a bad brand name in business is like putting up a 30-foot high wall between you and your customers. You wouldn't deliberately want to do that. So the fact that the vast majority of business founders are making this mistake That simply means they have a blind spot in this area. We all have blind spots, every entrepreneur has. This is why I founded a secret mastermind community where we hunt down and eliminate our blind spots. This mastermind community will also give you access to something that was the secret key to the success of Bill Gates and most super successful founders, link in the description. But this mastermind community is not for everyone, and you might not be able to get in because there's a hard limit on the number of members. To help our members beat 90% of their competition, we have to keep at least 95% out. So the second best way to help you grow your business is to subscribe to this YouTube channel and ring the bell, so you don't miss the upcoming in-depth videos and live streams. Now, a great name makes people want to learn more about your product and will make it easy for them to find your website. But if your website isn't doing a great job converting those website visitors into leads and sales, then it would be like Thor's hammer that crumbles like a cookie. This is why the next video titled 5 website mistakes that are killing your business will be your saving grace. It will help you fix and avoid the mistakes that put the handbrakes on nearly every business website. So watch that video next, link in the description.